Middle East. We're joined now by Simon de Galbert, who's visiting fellow at the Europe programme of the Centre for Strategic and International Studies. Good evening and thank you very much for being with us. Can you tell us what is at stake here for France, for Egypt and, of course, for François Hollande himself?
Well, I think it's undeniable that the past events in the past few years and even in the past months in France and also in the region has demonstrated that France has an utmost interest in enhancing the stability of the region and to put diplomatic solutions to the crises that are bringing it apart. And so to do that, I think it's been France's policy to strengthen partnerships with stable and able partners that share its interests in such stability. And so I think the President's tour in Egypt, but also I would point out in Lebanon during the weekend and in Jordan tomorrow, all come together in that framework because objectively the three countries are critical partners to enhance stability in the region. They share France's interests in combating terrorism and obviously they have a critical role to play in the resolution of the regional crisis in the region, either in Syria or in Libya. So I think it's in that broader context that the visit should be understood.
So the issue of prevention of terrorism, combating terrorism, taking precedence over, say, something like the human rights question?
I don't think it's taking precedent or taking more importance. I think the President has been clear in his press conference with President Sisi that human rights were an issue. He's been clear about the fact that talking about this topic should not prevent countries sharing interests to cooperate. And actually, he talked about pretty bluntly about the fact that human rights were not a constraint, but that they were a condition for combating terrorism efficiently. So I think there is a division in the French administration that it's not necessarily by being the utmost critic publicly that you can achieve concrete results. But in the meantime, once again, the President has been pretty blunt about that in his press conference. So I think it's not one against the other. The two go together.
So the fact that François Hollande brought up the case of the Italian student who was battered to death and, of course, a Frenchman who suffered a similar fate, what you're reading into this is that this is François Hollande actually making a stand whilst trying to, on the surface, keep things at a level that al-Sisi would be comfortable with.
Well, frankly, once again, the President, as he said, raised those topics in his private meeting with President Sisi. But in the meantime, he also raised them publicly. And so I think it's pretty clear to everyone that this issue is not put under the table, but it's right on the table. But in the meantime, there are also topics and issues and priorities for both countries to address together. And so I genuinely believe that there's no opposition in raising those two things together. In the meantime, once again, there are security priorities that the two countries are working together, are cooperating on, and raising one issue is not an objection or an obstacle to tackling those shared challenges.
Simon de Galbert, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Simon de Galbert there, joining us from the Centre for Strategic and International Studies. Thank you for your time, sir.